Shalom, everybody. I'm Barry Segal, and I greet all of you at King's Church International. Shalom. Well, we're going to talk about why it's important to pray for Jerusalem as Christians and as Jews. So I greet all of you, Pastor Wes, Adriana, to all of you at King's Church International in the Thames Valley, Robertson, South Africa, and of course, the City of London. Today we're going to take a look at the city of Jerusalem, the political capital of Israel and the spiritual capital of the Jewish people, which is also holy for Christians and Muslims. But we're not going to examine this city's many political and cultural aspects, at least not directly. Instead, we're going to take a forensic view of Jerusalem in light of the Bible, which mentions the name of Jerusalem 815 times, including in the Law, the Prophets, the Psalms, the Gospels, the Epistles, and in Revelation. It's a central theme of the Bible in the past, present, and future. So we'll start by reading Isaiah chapter 62. For Zion's sake, I will not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake, I will not rest until her righteousness goes forth as brightness, and her salvation as a lamp that burns. The Gentiles shall see your righteousness, and all kings your glory. You shall be called by a new name, which the mouth of the Lord will name. You shall also be a crown of glory in the hand of the Lord, and a royal diadem in the hand of your God. You shall no longer be termed forsaken, nor shall your land any more be termed desolate. But you shall be called Hephzibah, and your lamb Beulah, for the Lord delights in you, and your land shall be married. For as a young man marries a virgin, so shall your sons marry you. And as the bridegroom rejoices over the bride, so shall your God rejoice over you. I have set watchmen on your walls, O Jerusalem. They shall never hold their peace day or night. You who make mention of the Lord, do not keep silent and give him no rest till he establishes and till he makes Jerusalem a praise in the earth. These prophetic words will stir the heart of anyone who loves the city of Jerusalem and the God who put his name there. And I love Jerusalem because I live there. Anyone who believes that Jesus of Nazareth, known as Yeshua of Nazareth, was the promised Messiah of Israel will easily discern his presence in this passage, and it will be no mystery to anyone why this city is so important in ancient, modern, and prophetic history. Now, archaeologists estimate that people first built a settlement in this area around 5,000 years ago. Since then, the city has been attacked at least 52 times and captured 44 times, being completely demolished at least twice. There are other cities which have been fought over, conquered, and reconquered almost as many times throughout history, but most of them sat on strategic crossroads. Armies that were using the coastal road had no great need to conquer this city. Even those passing out of the desert to the coastal ports could easily bypass it. Furthermore, there's no natural reason why Jerusalem would have been the administrative capital of this country. In fact, it was only ever the capital city of the Davidic kingdom and later Judah from the 10th century BC to 586 BC. The Hasmoneans made it their capital again from 164 BC to 63 BC, and then there was the Crusader kingdom of Jerusalem from 1099 to 1187 AD. No one else made Jerusalem an administrative capital until the British Mandate in 1922 AD. Now, the British built extensive infrastructure in Jerusalem and throughout the country right up until they left in 1948, and the newborn state of Israel proclaimed Jerusalem to be its capital city in December of 1949. Now, speaking of the British, I personally think they deserve some credit for all the work they did to improve the infrastructure in this country during the 30 years they ruled here. The British Empire was the last superpower to rule this area, and they followed a line which included various regimes that had ruled from Egypt in ancient times, as well as the Babylonians, the Romans, the Byzantines, the Islamic Caliphates, the Crusaders, and finally the Ottomans. To make a brief side note, I also believe there is a good chance that modern-day Turkey, which is prophesied in Ezekiel 38 to 39 to be part of the alliance of nations that attack Israel from all directions, will be partially motivated by a desire to rebuild the Ottoman Empire. The ruler of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, often speaks of this desire, and it's tied to his obsession with restoring the Islamic Caliphate. That's a subject that deserves a video report of its own, but for now let's get back to the subject at hand, Jerusalem. Once again, This city has only been an administrative capital a few times in its long history. So why is it so important? Why does Psalm 122 verse 6 command us, "Pray for the peace of Jerusalem, may they prosper who love you"? It's because Jerusalem is special in the eyes of God. He has made a decision in his sovereign wisdom and power to tie the plans and purposes he has for the Jewish people and by extension, the entire human race to this place. Now let's take a look at a few more historic events that occurred in Jerusalem, which demonstrate that it is the intersection between heaven and earth. To start, Abraham took Isaac to a spot which, according to Jewish tradition, corresponds to the Temple Mount to sacrifice his son Isaac. Of course, God stopped him from following through with it and provided a ram to be the sacrifice instead, after Abraham very specifically said that he would provide a lamb. That's important to keep in mind, but moving on a few hundred years, David made Jerusalem the capital of his kingdom. That had never been done before, and it's a decision that continues to have ramifications right up until this very day. David's son Solomon made another such decision when he built the first temple in Jerusalem on Mount Moriah, according to 1 Kings chapter 8, verses 10 to 11. Crucially, Jerusalem is the city where Jesus Christ was crucified, buried, and resurrected. And according to Zechariah chapter 14, verse 4, it is also the city to which he will someday return, and his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives. The book of Revelation tells us that he will then set up his throne in Jerusalem, and it will be the capital city of the whole world during his millennial kingdom. Well, with Jerusalem having so much spiritual significance in the past, present, and future, it is no wonder that it is the subject of so much controversy and conflict in the natural. Once again, it is a city that is considered holy to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, although it is not mentioned by name in the Quran, and it is, though, in the Torah and the New Testament. Also, once again, in the hundreds of years that Jerusalem was under the control of Muslim-dominated countries and empires, they never devoted much money or effort to building it up. It was only after the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 that anyone in the Muslim world began to pay much attention to what was going on in Jerusalem. Now, of course, it's a major hotbed of international intrigue, and the Palestinian Authority is demanding to make the eastern neighborhoods of this city the administrative capital of their own state, despite already having established an administrative center in Ramallah, a city several kilometers north of Jerusalem, and running the Palestinian Authority from there for over 30 years now. Furthermore, when Muslims pray, they do so in the direction of Mecca, not in the direction of Jerusalem. For many Muslims, that means actually turning their backs on Jerusalem and the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which they always say is so important to them. Also, a short distance away from this mosque is the Golden Dome, which has a verse from the Quran, Surah chapter 4, verses 171 to 172, which specifically denies that Jesus was divine and the Son of God. You can go read those passages for yourself if you don't believe me, or if you're one of those people who think all religions are basically the same. I want to conclude this special report by telling you a story about a seed that was planted in Jerusalem over 200 years ago that has since grown into a powerful revival in the country and what I believe is the fulfillment of the prophecy from Romans chapter 11, verse 5. I am talking about the establishment in Jerusalem of the first Protestant church in the entire Middle East, Christ Church, just inside the Jaffa Gate to Jerusalem's Old City. It was an effort of what is today called CMJ, the church's ministry among Jewish people, founded in London in 1809 and arriving here in the Holy Land in the early 1820s. They actually received permission from the Ottoman authorities to buy property and build a chapel, which was completed in 1841. Now, the leader of this new congregation was Anglican Bishop of Jerusalem, Michael Solomon Alexander, the first Jewish bishop in Jerusalem since 135 A.D. The church building itself was designed by architect Conrad Schick, who would go on to design and oversee the construction of many more buildings in modern Jerusalem, many of which are still in daily use today. This was one of the many contributions that the Christ Church community made to the rebuilding of modern Jerusalem. They also built the first modern hospital in the city, opened schools, and helped people learn trades and start businesses. Now, these efforts played a central role in reestablishing Jerusalem as a major center for commerce, industry, education, the arts, and more after centuries of it being a backwater where not much was going on. Christ Church also laid the foundations for the renewed Church of Jesus Christ in Jerusalem. Today, dozens of congregations that operate in big cities and small towns all over Israel, including in Judea and Samaria, can trace some of their roots to Christ Church. Well, finally, in 1979, the first Christian Feast of Tabernacles took place at Christ Church. My mentor, Derek Prince, who was a member of the Christ Church congregation and a leader of Israel's Protestant community, was one of the speakers at this first feast, and several others that followed. Now, I myself attended the feast in 1981 and several more in years since, as the Christian Feast of Tabernacles has grown to become one of the largest annual Christian events in the city. In fact, Bati and I were worship leaders for many years there. None of this should surprise anyone because it's all part of the restoration of Jerusalem, which is promised in Isaiah chapter 62, where it is said that the city will no longer be desolate or forsaken, but it shall be called Hephzibah, which means my delight is in her. There is much more ahead for Jerusalem and the people of God. I urge you to join me in praying urgently for the peace of Jerusalem, not only because it's a command in Scripture, but because it's in our own interest to do so. There will be no more peace in this world until there is peace in this city. The future of the entire human race is tied up in the future of Jerusalem, and God is inviting us to participate in His plans and purposes. When the King of the universe issues you and I an invitation, there's only one proper way to respond. So the Lord bless you and keep you, and make His face to shine upon you, and lift up His countenance upon you, and bring you His peace. Shalom, shalom from the city of Jerusalem. God bless you.
Thank you for joining us today. King's Church International is a multi-generational, multiracial church with over 50 nationalities represented, and it began with just 5 people in Slough during World War II. Today, our congregations meet on Sundays in Windsor, UK, Westminster, London, and in Robertson, South Africa. But throughout the week, we meet in many different areas in smaller groups known as life groups, which are the heart of the life of the church. We have age-specific programs for children and youth. And we also sponsor a Christian school in Windsor, which started in 2012, as well as supporting several schools in West Africa. Our focus as a church is on sharing the good news of Jesus, locally and globally, and developing committed disciples of Jesus and forming them as leaders. We follow a process known as the G12 vision, following the example of Jesus in training 12 disciples. The G12 vision, which was pioneered in one of the world's largest churches in Bogota, Colombia, is very similar to the approach of 18th century evangelist John Wesley, which brought lasting personal and social transformation in the UK and throughout the world. If you want to find out more about our ministry or get connected with us, please go to kcionline.org/connect. God bless you.